experience our hospitality as you enjoy our tasty cuisine overlooking great scenery. Sagana Getaway Resort, an oasis of tranquility.
Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast show. Now, the Transitional Authority's term is about to come to an end in about 2 months or so, but those in charge of the body say they need some more time so they can be able to finish up with some of the work that they started doing. Thing is, the Council of Governors says no, they're not going to extend any more time. They don't need any more time to do what they're doing, and that's a conversation we want to have this morning. Now in studio, we're joined by Mr. Kinudhia Mwangi, he's the chair of the Transitional Authority, and we're also expecting Governor Okoth Obado. He's from Migori County. He'll be hopefully making his way here in a few minutes. But in studio, like I've said, we are with Mr. Kinudhia Mwangi, the chair of the Transitional Authority, together with Mutegi Njau, and that's the conversation they'll be having. 22422 is the SMS line. Should you have any comments, suggestions, questions, we'd love to hear from you, so get in touch. But for now, I hand you over to Mutegi to start the interview. Mutegi?
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to Mutegi.
Now your term is ending at the beginning of March, specifically on the 4th of March. Maybe you need to tell us what is left undone after the 3rd of March. What is not done?
I don't know at this very early stage whether you would allow me to very comprehensively tell you what's remaining to be undone.
Yes, yes.
Because if I don't...
Yes, we need to know what is...
If I don't, a lot of people have got a lot of misunderstanding of what is remaining and what's not remaining. So allow me, and your indulgence, I tell you what is remaining.
Yes.
According to what we have now prepared as a brief to the Kenyans, what remains is the auditing of public assets and liabilities for the defunct local authorities, for the devolved functions of ministries, departments and agencies, audit of all governmental assets, worth billions. Nobody knows what we owe or we own in Kenya, both as liabilities and as assets. Billions of money, or trillion even. Validation of the inventory of the public assets and liabilities for the devolved functions of ministries, departments and authorities. Transfer of assets and liabilities to the relevant levels of government. Up to now, no asset is clearly designated to anyone, and we need to prepare for 7 registers and 1 register for national government. So each county must have a register of assets and liabilities, and the national governments also have a register of assets and liabilities, and this has to be done.
What do you mean is transfer? I remember that
transfer means
Mutegi.
Transfer means Mutegi that for instance you know we transferred functions, right?
Yeah.
And let me just put very easily health, all the hospitals and their assets and liabilities. The moment we transfer that function to the counties, the property appertaining thereto must be transferred to the county, to the respective counties.
What do you mean by transfer? Isn't it not automatic?
No, Mutegi, it's not automatic. That's why people are stealing public funds and public money, because it's not registered anywhere. It's not shown anywhere. So you find that, for instance, if you just assume that you own this property, 100 acres or 100 hectares, somebody can hive off 50 or 40 hectares because it is not registered anywhere, it's not designated, it's not alienated. So this time we are saying clearly it has to be according to the law. And according to the law is that it is registered somewhere and you can identify it and touch it and designate it and say this is mine. Just like the way you own that coat. Nobody can take that coat away from you with that tie. It's yours. Right, that's what we are saying. A government must own property like an individual. It must also subscribe to the ownership of a liability like an individual. And that's what we are saying we are going to do.
If, for instance, we give, say, for instance, Thika Hospital.
Yes.
Does it then belong to...
What is Thika Hospital? Mr. Mutegi, how many buildings in Thika Hospital, how many hectares, how much equipment, how much machinery is in Thika Hospital? What can you say is there? Tell me. Right now, who can say we have so many lorries, we have so many vehicles, we have so many ambulances, we have so many...
and you think the Transition Authority should get time to do that?
That's what we were created to do, Mr. Mutegi. That's what we were created to do.
You will not finish even in 1 year.
You see...
Even if you get an extra year, you will not finish.
Thank you. I did not make
the magnitude of the...
I did not make this law, and we did not make this law. We found it there. It was very speculative to assume that all this work can be done in such a small period. In many dispensations, a transition has never taken less than 10, 20 years. Some are continuing.
Okay, go on. You are now talking about audit and
President Obama was here and he told you that they are still transiting. Even now, 200 years. Didn't he tell us in Kasarani? So it's very presumptive to just think and utter 3 years. But the reality on the ground, and we are the people living it, is otherwise.
Okay, you have talked about audit,
yes,
validation and transfer.
Then
go on.
Immediately, there is analysis, transfer of pending functions as per the fourth schedule to the Constitution, and those performed by state corporations, including regional development authorities and water boards. That's not a very big issue, because I can see there is a lot of hype, particularly among the governors, about functions. We in Transition Authority are not bothering too much about this, because we know in the remaining period of 1.5 months, we shall have finished about functions. So when we are asking for extension, we are not talking about functions, because that one we know we shall have finished. These are the things I'm trying to explain to you are the key things, like, for instance, determination of the resource requirements for functions of the remaining sectors. You have heard everybody saying, we must add county governments 40%, 50%, 30%, 35%, based on what? For us, we are doing real-time costing of functions. And right now we have done it for 5 sectors, and we are remaining now to do for the rest of the sectors.
Which one have you done, costing for functions?
Mostly we have done in health, agriculture, we have done, there are 5, I can't quite tell offhand, but there are 5 ministries that we have done, yes, but the key ones.
It's costing of functions.
Costing of functions. If
you devolve a function, what will it cost?
That's what we are now saying. Both a function can be, we are costing both ways, both by the national government and the county government, because a function is most of the time shared. Because we want to know to deliver that function at both the national and county level.
If the costing is not done, how do they do the budget?
You see, at the moment,
if we don't know what it will cost, how do we do the budget then?
Right now, what is happening, the government has been using what we call historical costing. Historical is something that was done maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
The last previous year, the last financial year.
Well, it's rolled over. It's rolled over because we knew 10 years ago how much it costs. You just can add 10% or 5% or 2% or 3% onto last year's cost because of inflation or otherwise. But now,
and if the Transition Authority would want to do that, how will they do it?
Now, what we are telling you, Mr. Mutegi, we have already established a criteria of costing. We have looked at the practice in the whole of the world, and we came with our own criteria, our own Kenyan criteria, through using experts and other people. And arriving at that criteria, we have now managed. We have even visited some countries like Ethiopia and others, and none is like us, so we created ours specific to TA, and it has been agreed by stakeholders. So now we are using that criteria to cost the functions. Okay. Because what is now costing today is not the same as, and in any case, when we say about costing, we are talking about a modern standard service, not what was there maybe 10 years ago during colonial period. It's today's cost. So then, mind you, we have not done 15 sectors, which are ministries, and then we are talking about management of emerging issues from transfer and implementation of functions. You can see how many cases we have in the court. TA has already been taken to court We have about 60 cases in the court, and TA is always cited. Why? Because counties cannot agree with the national government. I'll give you a very good example, which is likely to see court very soon. The Mombasa Assembly has passed a law, a legislation to run the port. And that law creates Mombasa Ports Authority of the county. And therefore they are the ones who are going to determine the revenues, the taxes, and everything that will come from that. So there will be two ports authorities, the Mombasa Ports Authority and the National Ports Authority. And you see now already the international shipping community are complaining because they are saying there is double taxation. They now want to shift their loyalty to Dar es Salaam. So a port, or Mombasa Port in particular, is not part of the county assembly, county function. So there is a tendency by counties also to acquire national functions. So that's what we are calling emerging issues, because people sometimes mistakenly believe that they have a right to do anything because that thing is in the vicinity or within their counties. So these emerging issues is a big problem. The others, you know, when people take over the construction of classrooms in the secondary schools without an agreement with the national government who are in charge of primary and secondary schools, there is a provision whereby one level of government can transfer or delegate. But now they are not even waiting for this. Just take a road, you just take a function and do it. There are instances where the counties are just taking a road and tarmacking it, and the government has already planned to do it because it's a national government road, and then disputes are arising. So there are many of these issues, I can tell you, in this country that are causing confusion, and if you are not around at the moment, I can assure this nation there will be quite a bit of chaos. And this is not because we are special, but because we have already acquired this knowledge, and we are in a position to understand quickly and intervene quickly, and because we have generally been accepted in our nature as the arbiters, people accept our intervention.
Anyway, can you finish with that?
Yes. Yeah, okay. If you allow me, I'll run very quickly. Establishment of county pension schemes to safeguard staff benefits and facilitate transfer of service. Up to now, the county staff are not yet declared public service. You need to have a county pension so that the counties can now become public service. And that's a very big dangerous thing. Now we are coming to the end of transition. The national government staff who are seconded, who are taken together with the functions to the counties, were deemed as seconded during the transition period. So if we end this transition period, it's very likely, from a legal point of view and constitutional point of view, that the counties can say they are no longer our staff. So we need this pension scheme very quickly, and we have already taken this to the Senate, and we are trying to work with the Senate to see that it comes through. Then assessment and classification of urban areas and cities. Mr. Mutegi, when we came, the Urban Areas and Cities Act was so, the threshold was so high that no municipality or township or city could fit the criteria. Anyway, Mombasa and Nairobi and Kisumu were exempted. Nairobi was already a chartered city. They are now cities. But for us to create more cities, we need to classify this. And what we did amendments. First of all, we downgraded all municipalities. They are all called towns, including my own municipality called Thika, Nakuru, Eldoret. They are all towns. So we now need to classify this. But we need to get the amendments that we have already prepared through in Parliament so that we can now classify. Now, the other thing is rationalization and deployment of staff. We have heard of a program called CAPS. Now, everybody has been moved up and down. But you see, some places, the staff are idle, like in some ministries. When the functions were taken away, the staff were not moved. In some counties, we took staff, and then the counties rejected those staff and decided to employ their own, in spite of our advice that this should not be done. So now there is a lot of chaos, and there is bloating of workers in the counties and we need to bring sense into the recruitment process. Then there is
how is Transition Authority able to rationalize stuff? Because counties are they have a free hand to employ.
This is a multi-agency activity. The national government, the county governments, Transition Authority, Public Service Commission, Controller Budget, CIC now gone, CRA, Salaries Commission. We came together and we say we are in this together. So we have been carrying out the CAPS program together, and it's now at the level of summit, because it is a thing that requires a national determination of how we want to move forward. So the matter now is awaiting summit decision so that we can implement. But we are the facilitators. We are the technical committee of government to make sure that this is going the right way. But more critical now here, Mr. Mutegi Njau, is establishment of the status of ongoing reform processes, projects and programs, and recommending on transfer and management of either levels of government. From where you are, you will hear there are a lot of stalled projects, right? I'm sure you have heard that. A lot of government stalled projects, wasted resources. So now what we are doing, and we have already commissioned a study through some consultants, we shall come out, we say, these were the reforms, these were the projects, these were the programs, and now because we have the devolved system of government, who should be allowed to finish these projects, who should be allowed to finish these programs, who should be, that one is a determination to be done by TA, and it's being done. Then implementation of civic education curriculum on devolution. You are aware that even in the media, the biggest cry is that Mwananchi has not understood this constitution, and they are just there in diaspora not knowing what to do. They just hear of governors, MCAs, they hear of everybody. So what we are saying, let's have an integrated civic education. And what we have done in the meantime, we have already prepared the curriculum for civic education, manuals, and implementation.
At what level is the civic education?
We at the moment, we have having prepared all these materials. We want to surrender them to the Ministry of Devolution and the Attorney General, who have the two departments that previously handled this, and hope that the government can mobilize resources together with the county governments to carry out the civic education in accordance with the curriculum and the materials that we have provided for them. But we should be there, because they say we should ensure that civic education is undertaken and is in process. That's what the Act says. So that's what we are remaining to do, to see that it has taken place and it is moving. And facilitation of closure and transfer of public records and information to either level of government. I can tell you, Mutegi Njau, if you accompanied me in the counties, there is total shambles, you know? It's a crisis. A county government came and they well arranged. When we were town clerks, we used to have very well arranged records and record offices. They took these records, put them on trailers, you know, and they went and dumped them in some dump sites, some in parking areas, some in the rain, some in the sun, including very valuable records like title deeds and other international agreements. So now we are trying to retrieve this with the National Archives to make sure that we reconstruct the records, the county records. It's a crisis, and we are doing it. Then, of course, finally, so there will be what you call a closure and also a management system of records. We are very pleased that it's going very well, but it's still far from being perfect. But if you don't do this, then you don't have organizations. If you don't have records, you don't have organizations. Because what's your reference point? These are government, and you don't have government records. They have been destroyed. So we must reconstruct them and make sure that there is a proper arrangement of government records. And finally, to ensure there is capacity building of national and county governments. The capacity building is, you remember, a lot of these functions were in national government, and when you transfer them to the county governments, it's becoming obvious that some county governments don't have the capacity.
Isn't that the same thing as the rationalization of staff?
That is, it's not the same, because rationalization of staff is deployment, right? Who is where, when, and are you necessary? Because some people are superfluous, sorry to say so, because they are occupying positions that don't exist, or they are doing work that is not necessary, or they have no work at all. Because either because of skills, they don't have the skills that are required, or things have changed. But when we talk of capacity, we are talking about, one, resourcefulness, because we can talk about a function and its resources, how much money. We can also talk of capacity in terms of skills. We have the skills that are required to carry out. For instance, when you say you have devolved health, we have all the doctors that you require to run a level 5 hospital. How many kinds of departments, how many kind of sicknesses, how many kind of departments do you require, and who can man them? Do we have enough dentists? Do we have enough heart surgeons? Do we have, this kind of thing? These are skills, and therefore we need
capacity building.
We must make sure that when you transfer a function, a county has that function. Even in agriculture, you need to have a simple one, weights and measures. We found that only, I think, 28 counties we transferred weights and measures to only 28 counties. But even then, we don't have weights and measures officers. People are trained to actually supervise and scrutinize weights and measures. This is an area that is really wanting. So when you talk of capacity, you may be thinking of maybe surgeons of one type or another, lawyers. But even small things like extension officers. Do we have enough extension officers for livestock, for agriculture? The agriculture is dying right now. Livestock is dying right now. Why? Because there is no livestock, there is no livestock extension, there is no agricultural extension. A simple farmer there requires to interact with somebody knowledgeable, tell them how to grow smart farming. So these are what we call capacities, and we need to rationalize it. So all these things, we were told that after 3 years we shall hand over what we call the end part of the functions, but here we are saying these are core functions of which either we have not started or we are in the middle, and you can see they are not few. You see? So we are saying now we can make a justification for extension because of that.
Okay, fine. The Council of Governors and many governors, including the former Council of Governors chairman, who was here the other day on Wednesday.
Yes.
Isaac Ruto said, you haven't done your jobs, you need to go home.
Yes.
Why is it that the governors tend not to agree with this?
You see, governors,
why are they not interested in what you are saying?
No, I cannot talk for them. I can't talk for them.
Understanding, yes.
But in my understanding, they are part of the problem, and they are part of what we do. You see, TA has to guide them, has to oversight them, and what the governors don't want is an oversight body.
Yeah.
They don't want an oversight body to tell them, stop employing. I issue advisories, Mr. Mutegi, you have seen them before, right? I issue advisories, and you have seen that governors defy those advisories. So they don't want somebody to tell them what to do, and they have said it very loudly that they don't want to be told what to do. But how can you run a government without any form of oversight? Whether it is by Auditor General, by TA, or by Council, by the Controller of Budget, or by Salaries Commission, or by Ethics and Anti-Corruption body. You have to be oversighted by somebody else to see that you are doing, your governance issues are right. Ours is to see that you are carrying out your functions right. But they don't want to be oversighted. But I don't want to quarrel with anybody. But I'm saying governors will not wish us around, because we are the only people now remaining who can directly tell them that is wrong. You can't continue with that. Are you aware of that? There's no other body, including the national government, that can directly...
The Senate and the MCs.
The Senate cannot tell them directly. They will point out. Yeah, the Senate can call them, can summon them, but Senate cannot go to the field and tell them, don't stop doing that. It is we now, like another party now, Senate, who can go to the field and tell them, these records are in the wrong place, can you put them in the right place? And we insist, and we go there, and we stand there, and we wait until they have put them in the right place. Nobody else can do that. Senate cannot do that, right? But they can point out. So we have a role. We have a role that other bodies don't have. Otherwise, then it would not exist.
Abdullahi from Tana River is wondering.
Who is that?
Somebody, Abdullahi from Tana River, is calling and asking if all what we're saying is pending. What have you been doing throughout? The things as Banas were explained. What did you do during the last 3 years?
You see, when we talked to our minister,
the new minister,
yes, Mr. Mwangi Njuri, he was shocked. He said, I did not know that the work of TA was so overwhelming, and that was so much, and they were expected to do that. And I have his statement here, which I'm not going to read, but I have it here.
Yeah.
He was overwhelmed by the amount of work TA was given to do in 3 years. First and foremost, I can tell my friend, in Kenya and in the world, there were no 47 county governments. We have brought up a system of government, and we have shared functions among these, and we have made sure that they have been implemented. We have established systems, right? In all of them, and right now, county governments run like governments, right? With the assemblies there, with the county executive there, chief officers and everything. We have the national government, whereby after we take away functions, they are running, okay? So our work is to ensure that all these systems are running, and we have clear mandates, like now CAPS. For the last 2 years, we have been trying to identify the staff existing in both the national government and county governments. Now we know who is in national government, who is in county government, how old they are, how much time they have to serve as employees of government, and we know about all employees of government today. That is the core staff of national government and the core staff of the county government, not the parastatals, not the armed forces, but the others we know. Why? Right? Now, we are now waiting to effect staff rationalization. So that work alone has occupied us a lot. As I am speaking to you now, Mr. Mutegija, we have already taken an inventory of assets and liabilities of county, former local authorities. And I have identified about records which you can touch, read, and analyze of 47 counties and of the national government, and of 47 counties. I can tell you now we have been able to know that we have assets worthy over 140 billion shillings that belong to the county governments. I can tell you we have assets worthy, liabilities worthy over 60 billion. So this is information we can provide directly. I have said we have been doing costing. So I have said we have been doing rationalization. We have been doing records management. So these are things that run concurrently or they run simultaneously, and that's what we have been doing.
What is envisaged when you leave on the 4th of March?
Yes.
What is, if you leave, that
yes,
is,
yes.
What is envisaged to take place? Who will take over who is supposed to take over this?
The intergovernmental relations committee headed by Professor Professor Karega Mutahi are supposed to take residual. They call them residual functions, but that will have.
They don't look like residual. This one don't.
So exactly,
they look like
exactly. To any intelligent,
they look like a cardinal. They look like very
to any intelligent Kenyans, and that's why the minister agreed with us. These are not residual functions. They are cardinal. I'm glad even you're introducing a new word. We called them core.
Yeah.
But they're actually cardinal. These ones, they're cardinal. So, unless, seriously, I really don't know. This can collapse. This can collapse devolution.
So for instance,
yes.
You said you have 60 cases pending.
Not 60, now there could be 100. I mean, sometimes every day cases are going to court.
If you are not there, who will go and defend them? The intergovernmental committee? I
don't know. Maybe they will be enjoined. Maybe they will be left out. I really can't say for them. Because, a court process has its own procedures. So when the party is not there and does not exist, the one who is prosecuting the case may have to decide to enjoin other parties, but that's not for me, it's for them.
There's somebody asking questions of which you have kind of explained, but maybe they didn't hear. All devolved staff are suffering. Those who want their promotion spending were never implemented. That's one person. What are you doing about contracted instructors who are involved in counties but have not been paid this month for months? The Karo from Nakuru.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These are emerging issues. Mismanagement of staff, right? So these are the issues we are trying to address when we're talking about pensions, when we are talking about rationalization. These are all the things that we are going to talk about and ensure. And by the way, Mutegi Jao, every day we are dealing with individual cases. Either somebody was transferred to a county, he has not been paid. Even yesterday, somebody came to my office and said, I've not been paid for a year, and I've been working for this county. So why? Maybe there was misunderstanding here and there. So whereas we are dealing with individual cases, we won't deal with the principles, and that's what we're talking about, rationalization. That's why all these functions.
Somebody has heard you speak, but you want to know the percentage of work done and the percentage left in terms of what's the percentage?
Yes. What we have told the minister is that we are clear that at least we have done 65% of the mandate, and therefore it means that 5% of the mandate remains. But in this 35, it is a more critical issue, like audit of assets and giving ownership to assets and liabilities. We have and this rationalization of the more sensitive functions are the ones that have been left or are remaining to be done. The more sensitive ones.
That same person, Conda Albert, is asking, how long do you think you'll take to finish?
We have asked for 3 years.
Another 3 years.
Ourselves have asked for 3 years, but then we leave it to the people who have the power to determine, to decide how long they can add us when they do.
And somebody is asking, what is the security of the... You have answered that actually, but maybe you can say it again. What's the security of tenure for those staff who have been devolved?
As I have said, we need now to have the pension scheme in place so that we can transfer these people directly into the scheme. That's part of the staff rationalization. Once we have this scheme, they will all become employees of the county governments, and then the county governments themselves will be declared to be county public service. Otherwise, without this, there is danger now, especially if the transition period is not extended, for these employees to be damned or to be deemed to have come to an end of their contract. It's a very dangerous thing. Very dangerous, Mr. Mutegi, according to the law. You know, they can easily be deemed to have the secondment period may be deemed to have come to an end, and therefore they will either go home or go back to where they belong. But you see, you cannot go back to where you belonged because there is no function there. Because you went where you were, because there is a function. You went with your function, so you cannot go back to do what? So the security is it's a very dangerous area here. And this is what we are trying to fight by asking for an extension, even of the transition period, so that the same terms can be extended for 3 years to help us sort out these issues.
Somebody says, in fact, there was an issue in Kisumu Yes. There was a trip between, I think, the governor and the county commissioner.
Oh, exactly.
And there's somebody here saying that, are you aware that there are many staff, devolved staff who have no offices and no function, and nobody talks about them. They literally don't have any offices.
I'll tell you something. If they don't have functions or duties, and they don't have offices, not because they don't have, but because there is something I've been trying to tell you about here, of the county governments themselves discriminating against these people. They are dumped somewhere in a corner, they were labeled as incompetent, and then the county governments went and hired other people from outside to take the same jobs.
From their own counties.
From their own counties. Yeah. And that's why TA is not popular, because we are the only ones who point out this. And we are trying to follow up on this discrimination of both both former local authority staff and devolved staff. We are aware. We are aware, Mr. Mutegi Jao, and I can tell you we are very aware. And this is not because these people are not competent, just because they don't come from those places. They are being discriminated. And only TA can now go on the ground and say, no, this one cannot happen. But soon, if we are out, nobody will follow up.
Yeah. Somebody says, I wish TA stays around for some time. I'm a staff in one of the counties, and we are suffering. There is a lot of tribalism and nepotism. There is poor working conditions. I wish the staff could be managed by the central government. TA should come to our rescue.
We are already in their rescue, because they would have gone long ago. These people would have gone long ago. If you were not around, they would just have gone long ago. But you see, we are intervening. I don't want to quote counties and say what we have done. But there is one thing, there is one county which is in public domain. That's Bomet. They removed 138 county staff and sent them away. And they also, I think, removed about 36 devolved function staff. And the staff, together with us, we went to court. And the court rescued them and told them to go back and continue working. So there is precedent of attempts to really get rid of these people. And there are precedent of where we have intervened through the court and seen that these people are defended.
And somebody else is asking, they haven't given their names. Why are you doing civic education at the last minute? It's very important. When did you start from day one?
One, I want the Kenyans to know, unless you are facilitated with resources, money, right? You cannot do it from your pocket or from your salary. It has to be done with public money. It is in public domain that some sectors have wanted us out yesterday, right? And a lot of effort was spent to really remove TA from the scene. That one, I have been on this set before, talking about people wanted to remove, even taking a motion to Parliament to dismiss TA. So instead of being facilitated, the people are fighting us. So without money, we cannot do anything. But now the mood is so great. Let me tell you, Mr. Mutegi Jao, in support of TA. And the new minister has said he is ready and willing to facilitate as much as possible to make sure that those things that are supposed to be done by law or in law are done. So we are hopeful. And Kenyans must know that unless you allocate money to specific functions, nothing will be done. We would have finished this audit of assets long time ago if we had been facilitated with the money.
But somebody is claiming here, they haven't given the name, that we did the audit of assets and liabilities 1 year ago, but the transition authority is not sincere to finalize the sharing.
That person is a very ignorant person, absolutely ignorant. What we did was an inventory
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to know his name
He
or her
hasn't
name
even given the
or her name, but it shows the ignorance of the public sometimes. What we did, and I have said here, we have inventories of 47 countries. We have 47 registers of inventory unaudited. The one that is not audited. But the most important thing is to audit what we have put on there. What we have already captured is not necessarily the only assets that belong to the counties. You get the point. When we audit, we shall do forensic audit. And the forensic audit will tell us if this, what we have captured now was 1 acre or 1 hectare. Could it have been 10 hectares and somebody took 8 hectares? Then we shall be able to follow that other 8 hectares and say, where did they go? Sometimes we have gone and found the people have built developmental houses, yeah, or commercial premises on government land, right? We need to audit and say, how did this come to happen? How did you come into the ownership of this? Since there is no transfer of this land, or the transfer is illegal, what are we going to do to recover this land which is already having commercial premises? So tell my listener, who is also my boss because I'm answerable to the people of Kenya, that they should understand the difference between auditing and inventory. We have done well, we have captured this information, but we need to audit and be sure that this is exactly what belongs to who. Yes.
There is an issue about the management and construction of roads. In fact, there is an advertisement in the Standard today from the Council of Governors on the position of the county road function. And it looks like there are certain roads that were stopped because the governors went to court. And what is the position?
The position is,
put this advertisement.
Allow me to answer at length, because this is has become the most sensitive issue in Kenya today.
Yeah.
It's a political issue, major political issue. What happened when we were devolving functions in our second, because we have issued about 4 gazette notice. In the second gazette notice, we transferred a lot of functions immediately after this government came into play, or it came into existence in August 2013. Among the functions that we transferred were unclassified roads. We left out classified roads, but we knew among the classified roads, particularly D and E, would be county roads. So we said we give ourselves time to understand how these things operate. Now, we left out the libraries, for forests and others. But when you say about libraries or forests or roads, we don't just pick roads and transfer. There's something called unbundling, analysis, assigning, and transferring. Why? Because even when you come to libraries, when we unbundled, we realized that in international practice, in a country there must be at least 1 main library and 2 others. So we have to, when we are transferring the library, we left out Buruburu Library, and we left out Nakuru Library, and the main library as national libraries, because this is the international practice. That's how unbundling helps us to understand issues. Even for the roads is the same. Even in unclassified roads, in classified roads, B and E, some have since become even superhighways. Some have become Class A, because the traffic flow, or the requirement now in a devolved system, a road that was not even classified in Mandera going to Garissa becomes a trans-border road. So it was not classified, but now it is classified as Class A, because it must be in the same standard like all other trunk roads. So to allow that thing to happen, we needed now to get the new classification, so that those which are unclassified and need to be classified should be classified. Those which are classified as Class A and have become just side roads should also be demoted. And that's exactly what we are doing right now. The organization or the body charged with that is the Ministry of Infrastructure. And we have told them they must come out with one document that can be kept in an archive or in a library or anywhere for reference, so that by the time we transfer the roads in their classification, that is the reference point. Otherwise, at the time we were transferring, there was no reference point. Nobody could tell you this is the document that classifies. There was no document. Now I have said, or rather TA has said, bring a document that now classifies every road, including the unclassified, so that when we say Ruiru Kiambu Road, we can see it on that map and in that book. So now, when we did not transfer this because we needed further unbundling, the Council of Governors went to court.
Yeah.
And when they went to court, they said, since you have not classified D and E, you have not transferred them to the counties because they thought they were all county roads, then you cannot work on them. You cannot give any contracts, you cannot upgrade them, you cannot repair, you cannot do anything. And that's the reigning ruling even now. Now the judgment has come out, and because they appealed to Senate, and Senate gave a direction that those class D and E should be transferred to the counties, including the other functions, we have already prepared our schedule of transfer. But when it went to the office of the Attorney General, it was challenged by other people. And then when it was challenged, the Council of Governors went to court, right? And which stopped all these contractors and everybody and any work going on there. So even this time of El Nino, when the bridges have already broken and the roads have been washed away, no work can be done because of this embargo by the court. So we are in a hurry ourselves. We're in a critical hurry to gazette now these roads so that we can now lift the embargo, so that the national government and the county government can begin to work on those roads.
The governors are saying, the Council of Governors are now proposing that for the execution of contracts I wanted on county roads in the financial year 2015-2016, the intergovernmental agreement be signed between the respective county governments and the national government.
You cannot do that.
In order to ensure the minister.
What are you signing,
to ensure that the ongoing projects are not stalled.
Mr. Mutegi, what
they already stalled.
Mr. Mutegi, what are you signing? We have not assigned these roads. We have not transferred. So let's first of all do the right thing first. We are going to transfer the roads as per the agreed classification, right? And then, once we have transferred, each party will be left to now begin to do their work.
What are we saying?
However, if there were stalled projects, they will come in where we are saying reforms, programs and projects. It is for us to determine who should finish a work in progress. It's for TA. Because this roulette and side shows and side meetings and all these things have stalled service delivery in this country.
What are we investing? Are they investing after that classification? After
transfer? After transfer, yes.
Are we going to kill Kura and Kera?
You see, for us, we have blocked ourselves to issues of institutions. We don't want to see Kura or Kera. We want to see roads. We want to see roads only and say which is a county road and which is a national road, a trunk road. So once we do that,
there is a Kenya Urban Roads Authority.
That's an institution. That's an institution.
Suppose build roads in urban areas.
That is an institution.
If the county takes over the roads, then it means Kura will die.
If it dies because of that, then we are not responsible. We just have transferred a function, right? There are many other services that died when we transferred functions. So Kura is not special. It is like any other service that was at national level, but it died. So you cannot begin to address yourself to institutions. Institutions are not functions, and they are not part of the law. What is part of the law? What is the law? Is function. So just identify which roads belong to the county. There are only two types of roads: county road and national road. Transfer. Once you transfer, if there were institutions, this is called collateral damage.
Yeah.
And we are not bothered about that because we are not responsible. Yeah, we are responsible for transferring functions, not institutions. Not institutions. Because there is a lot of reorganization of government to fit the new dispensation. So if it requires that the ministry will reorganize itself with the Kura and Kera and Kenya to suit itself, to suit the new dispensation, so that is their responsibility. But we should not come and tell the ministry what to do with these institutions. What we can tell them is that you can no longer carry out this service. It belongs to another. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mwangi. There is somebody who says that based on what you are saying, it is evident that a lot remains to be done, and therefore you need to be, your term needs to be extended. In my opinion, based on the justification by the chair, the authority should be given ample time to perform and complete the purposes for which it was established.
Thank you very much.
I hope that those people who have
Thank you.
have
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.